Alright, you have 10 seconds to answer me when I start this next question. Top. I'm a character in the game Risk of Rain 2. I play mostly as a ranged attacker, but my range is quite limited. I'm a stupidly overpowered character that for some reason gets armor and has lifesteal of the wazoo. Who am I? That's right, I'm this piece of shit. Why? Why does such a character exist? Like, honestly, you're way too strong. I've barely played this thing, and I've never had any issues reaching the final stage. This thing is way too strong, but at the same time, I get it. The name's Rex, capitalized. This means that it's an acronym, by the way. And this stands for Realistically Everlasting Xenograft, which is a graft obtained from a member of one species and transplanted to a member of another species. And a graft is a horticulture, a bud, shoot, or scion of a plant, inserted in a groove, slit, or the like, in a stem or stalk of another plant in which it continues to grow. Now see, it's funny, because Rex is half plant. It's funny! And now, to stop with the yapping, let's actually talk about this thing, shall we? Rex is completely OP. I think it's probably the strongest character in the game when you play it even just decently. Of course, your main problem is using all your HP and ending up game-ended, but don't worry, you've got things to counter that. Like your HP pool being insanely high, with a base of 130 and a scaling of 39. This is higher than Huntress, Artificer, Bandit, Captain, Commando, Mercenary, Railgunner, and Void Fiend, and on par with Engineer, while being lower than Multi, Loader, and Useless, and that's it. Heretic if you want to count him in too, I guess. As a ranged character, this is already a big no-no. But don't worry, it gets worse. Alongside Multi, this is the only ranged character with armor in the game. And I just have a question. Why? Did someone think that this character needed more survivability? Because if so, you probably don't play this bad boy. But of course, all of those stats are because of the perceived main weakness of the character, which is the fact that you have to use your HP in order to deal damage. And first, no, you don't. All skills have an alternate that will not use HP, but they will be less effective, of course. But second, where's the issue in using your HP if you've got abilities that heal you anyway? There's a lot to talk about here, much more than this guy. So let's start with the primary before talking about the passive, as these two are linked. The primary shoots out 3 bolts in quick succession, each dealing pretty small damage actually, but that doesn't matter. What does matter are these 3 things the ability has. So, for each volley, the third bolt fired will be augmented and will weaken enemies while also healing for 60% of the damage dealt by that bolt. And each bolt also has a 0.5 proc coefficient. And I won't redo my spiel from last video. If you want a bit of an explanation, go watch that. But basically, you have a good chance at firing some items with this ability, but they won't be that damaging because of their total damage scaling on most items. Now, what is weakening? When an enemy is weakened, this means that they will have this symbol on their health bar. What this means is that for the duration of the effect, these enemies will deal 40% less damage to you, will move 40% slower, and their armor is reduced by 30. Now, let's look at the sheet. Yep, that's right. Not a single normal enemy has over 30 armor, and a good amount even have 0. This means you can actually deal over 80% of your damage every shot, because they will actually take an extra 22% damage. Did someone playtest this? I do wonder, really. The primary is going to be your main healing point. No, that's false, wait. It'll be your main damaging ability. Wait, no, that's not it either. Well, no matter what, it's a good way to get some damage down, and still, it heals, it weakens. You can't ask for much more on a basic ability. Loader gets a shield with it. Well, this bitch breaks a shield, basically. There is only one secondary, and it's Seed Barrage. And this is when the character becomes interesting. So far, we were on a broken character, but this ability actually isn't that great at first glance. You use 15% of your current health. Oh, and this takes into account all HP sources like shield and barrier, by the way, and for that cost, you deal 450% damage only. This isn't great, or so you'd think, because I blacked out the one important thing. Look at these two things here. Proc coefficient of 1.0, so full effectiveness, and cooldown of 0.5 seconds. You know when I said that this was your primary? Screw that. This is your primary. This is more spammable than anything else in the game. It is insane. Sure, you do use some of your own health, but you already have one way of getting back that health with your primaries, and the fact they heal for 60% damage dealt. For the utility, it's not utilitarian, first and foremost, but actually your best damaging ability for groups, as well as a shit ton of healing. Bramble Volley, yes, there's only one. I don't know what you're talking about, there's only one. Bramble Volley has a cooldown of 5.5 seconds, and I'd say a low proc coefficient of 0.5. But then again, that ability before didn't even have any at one point. With that said, the ability uses 20% current health this time, so a bit more, but it deals more damage, knocks back enemies, so no matter what, it's a small stun actually, and the cherry on top that makes this ability broken, it heals for 10% of your maximum health for every enemy hit. And ladies, gentlemen, and every single one of you lovely people, this is why this character is broken. This ability is absolutely way too strong and has some insane item synergies with some items that actually you wouldn't expect. Rex makes you change the way in which you want to itemize, which is why I quite enjoy the character too, because it's different and it feels nice. Yes, you are also different, but you don't move. Bramble Volley is the ability that deals a shit ton of damage and also is a nice movement ability. The only thing Engineer has is Chlamydia. When I say, by the way, that Volley is a nice way to move, I mean it. You can clear the whole tree of commencement with a hard light afterburner because the faster you go, the stronger the push of the item. So, if you use multiple times the ability together, you can reach the top easily, as seen in the game you're definitely watching, right? And special, there's only one. Alright, there's two, but both are meh. I use Tangling Growth because I like the root on the ability, which sets you up very nicely for the boom. But both heal, both can be used, and I won't last longer on these because the video is already long enough without talking about this. Because now we also have to talk about one more thing. Item synergies, and it's interesting. Let's start with the obvious. Shatter Spleen is usable on this character and still stands as the best item for literally everyone. If you don't agree, let me reintroduce the item quickly. The Mighty Shroom is the only item in the game that has a % max HP damage scaling. It also gives you 5% crit chance, and you don't even need crits to make the item work, as it works with the knife bleed as well. The explosion radius is actually large enough to get chains going, and you will never regret this yellow item, which is only one of 4 I can say that to. Sure, 57 Leaf Clover exists, and of course on Rex it works too, but this is a red, and a quite uncommon one at that. Whereas if you find yourself a gun and an Imp Overlord, ka-ching baby, it's done. You may think that for Rex I'm about to say to get some healing, but quite the opposite. Avoid almost all sources of healing other than Medkit and Monster Tooth. You don't need anything that doesn't give you % max HP healing, and these two items do. You know which items also work well? There are 3 reds that are normally fringe that work incredibly well on this character. Aegis, and Kuhana's Opinion, and Rejuvenating Rack. These items are incredibly strong on this character as Aegis gets barrier from his self-healing, and Kuhana's also gets the proc from your healing, and you know, doubling the healing you can get on a character that wants to heal I think that's pretty great. I will give you one item to absolutely avoid and leave the rest to theory crafting, as this is also part of the fun. Avoid taking the plasma shrimp. The shield that you get does get taken down by your self-damage, which means you will never get to prog the item, as you need your shield up for it to work. Again, the rest is up to you now for the items. When it comes to the gameplay, if you want to play something frenetic, that doesn't have to stay quite close to enemies to heal up and deal a nice amount of damage with the boom, play Rex, absolutely. This character will be made for you. Just getting in a cluster and destroying enemies with one button, that's really satisfying, of course. If you want to play without the self-damage, play multi, because there are no second choices for your secondary and utility skills. Thanks for watching. More guides coming soon. I put that in quotations in the script because those are basically glorified reviews, right? Anyway, you can always like this video, look at all the other guides I've done on this playlist to the right of the screen, and also check out my Risk of Rain 2 full game guide on the left while you're at it. And also, you can always subscribe for more videos and streams coming soon. Have a good day and take care, everyone.